Good evening. This is CTV News for Thursday, June 29th. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Byron Scott. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, the American Civil Liberties Union files 2 lawsuits challenging gag orders that silence victims of police abuse. The suits against Baltimore City and Salisbury police charge violations of free speech and government secrecy. The ACLU says the cases were brought on behalf of a woman who was improperly denied half her settlement after responding to online comments about her experience with police in Baltimore City.
Neither of them got back to me until the day.
My home was burglarized. I called the Baltimore City Police for help. He showed up. He didn't identify himself. He disrespected my home. He brushed past me, stepped on my belongings, never told me who he was or why he was there, even though I had asked him repeatedly the whole time. I told him I didn't call him and that his gun and his badge didn't give him a right to disrespect myself in my home. And that's when he told me I was under arrest. It was the point when I asked him why I was under arrest that he immediately just started beating me. He grabbed me by my hair, threw me in the hallway. Hits came from there. Next thing I know, another officer was on me. Just the 2 of them. Then he jumps off and jumps onto my mom. And a third cop shows up with the taser. And that's when the whole tasing incidents occur. I was able to scurry away a little bit. And the third officer then restrained me by putting his knee on the back of my neck.
You know, an incident occurs, somebody's beaten up, somebody's falsely arrested, excessive force is used by police, the person challenges the conduct, files a lawsuit, and the government agrees to settle the lawsuit, but only if the plaintiff will agree to keep quiet about it. And in many circumstances, people just can't, especially people who have been in litigation over a period of a year or two, with criminal charges hanging over them or whatever, they just can't afford to drag it out in order to be able to speak out about it. So they agree to the provision even though they don't like it.
The ACLU says it's looking into whether other jurisdictions have similar policies. And law enforcement across Maryland joined up to one motorist driving this holiday weekend to make plans to have a safe and sober ride. Between 2011 and 15, more than 19,000 people were killed and injured in crashes where drinking or drugs were involved. Now, the team known as the State Police Impaired Driving Effort, or SPIDER, has been responsible for 22,000 DUI arrests since its inception in 2013. Mary Mitchell said and our family were victims of a drunk driving crash last year.
Flipped 3 times. And we finally came to a rest upside down. But that's when you fear you've never felt as a mother or a parent sets in. You hear your children screaming, and then everything stops, and you hear nothing.
The SPIDER team is being deployed in high-risk areas to conduct intense saturation patrols to help identify and ultimately arrest drunk drivers. To further assist our efforts in reducing the number of lives lost due to the alcohol-related crashes, the mobile breath alcohol testing truck, MBAT, that you see here will be also out there working.
Call a cab, text a friend, download a Share Ride app, look up public transportation options. We have all kind of options here for better decisions. So don't leave it to chance. Make a plan how you're going to get home before you leave your house.
Now, police say more than half of all impaired-related crashes happen on Friday, Saturday, and early Sunday.
Well, Byron, not only will people be hitting the road, many will hit the water in boats to enjoy the 4th of July weekend. As you know, it's important to keep safety first. We spoke with the Coast Guard and other officials about what you need to keep in mind. Officer Rod Brown will be part of the patrols on the water this weekend.
Ma'am, you're going too fast.
He took us along the Piscataway River, where he and other police with Maryland Natural Resources will be looking for unsafe boaters.
They don't treat the rivers the way they do the open ocean. There's a false sense of security. They think, oh, it's a small body of water, I'm going out there, and you really don't see the dangers.
Sarah Wallace with the Coast Guard says people often make mistakes that cost them their lives, something that Karen Burrows knows too well. The father of her 2 children and several others died last November during a fishing trip. Bad weather caught them.
There's no words to describe it. But it's it's totally turned our world upside down.
When you start to see those dark clouds build, it's often too late to turn around and head home. So really be wary of what the weather's going to look like for the day and know when you should start heading in.
In addition to watching the weather, Wallace emphasizes a few other things that you've heard before, like making sure you have life jackets on board your boat and a marine radio.
Often people rely on their cell phone to call for help. That cell phone call for help is a call to one. When you call on the radio on channel 16, not only does everyone on the water who has a radio hear you and may be able to get to you quicker than the Coast Guard can, we have equipment in our shop where when you call on channel 16, the radio towers point in the direction you're calling from.
There's just a lot of things now that you can buy that are very simple and easy to use that could possibly save your life.
And as Burroughs continues to come to grips with her loss, she's hoping it will be a lesson on safety for the thousands hitting the water this summer.
I do want to help save others and really help people understand how serious this is, that this can happen to anybody.
And for more details on boating safety, log on to the Maryland Department of Natural Resources website. The CSX conductors killed by an Amtrak train couldn't be warned that the train was on the way, according to officials. That is because CSX and Amtrak operate on different radio frequencies. The accident happened around 11:30 on Tuesday night in the Ivy City area. The freight train out of Baltimore had stopped so the crew could investigate a possible problem with a wheel, and the conductors apparently stepped on the side of the tracks owned by Amtrak. That's when train 175 from Boston struck and killed the CSX employees identified as Stephen Deal of Myersville, Pennsylvania, and Jake LaFave of Cumberland, Maryland.